This is our opportunity and our responsibility. You know, in the conventional market, we were rewarded for producing the biggest possible quantity of something that barely made the grade. In the organic market, we should try to produce the highest quality that's absolutely possible and expect to be rewarded for producing that high quality with a quality price. And I really think, you know, there's a saying on quality of merchandise that the advantage or the good feeling of a good price doesn't last nearly as long as the bad feeling of having gotten a lemon. And I think if we are producing crops that we are proud of, and we're proud enough of to want to have our customer be happy with, that's a place where we can ensure ourselves to stay in control of the markets. You know, and I think that's been stolen from humanity by the way our international grain systems work. You know, Cargill made a lot of news at one time, and now it's not even talked about, that they would save the dirt that they take out of grain, and then they would take number 1 corn in, and they would add enough dirt and crap and rotten corn back to it to bring it down to number 2, because in order to sell it, it only has to be number 2. Now, why not strive to give the customer better than what they think they're going to get, but then expect to get paid a fair price for it? And I really think when we reinvent the food system as organic farmers, that should be an important component of it. And groups like this, and groups like our New York Certified Organic, will meet together to try to encourage each other and teach each other, how do we grow better quality? You know, what things can we do that raise the quality of our crops?
What's nice in the organic community is that the pie is big enough. There's enough for everybody. We don't have to preserve little bits of information that gets us our piece of the pie at the expense of yours. There's enough for all of us. And we can afford to be a sharing, cooperative community, because nobody's going to be at a disadvantage if we are. And what's nice in our group is that we can sit around and talk, we can share information, we can share market information that otherwise might be considered proprietary. But we can help each other do better. And you all can do the same thing. You can see that your neighbor is succeeding, and we'll all benefit if we have a community rather than just a single farmer.
Are you familiar with Jim Hightower up here?
He's a radical activist.
One of his radical ideas that he tries to sell people is that we all do better when we all do better. You know, we don't have to have a personal advantage at the expense of someone else. So we go out and do something stupid. We give away those little things that we learn that will make us more successful. And
in doing that, in a strictly practical matter, our markets grow. We have more opportunities. We have more buyers coming to our area in New York, because there's not just one farm here or one farm there. There are hundreds of organic farms.
When we first converted to organic, we were a relatively large farm, and there were 5, 6 major organic farms in the state, and most of them were selling a lot of their crops on the conventional market. There was not enough market to go around. And they did what seemed like a really dumb thing. They shared their markets with us. They told us who to sell to. They sold us where they were selling, even though they couldn't get rid of all theirs. They gave away what they didn't have enough of. And what they ended up with was more markets than we could ever fill. So they learned, we learned that the more you give away, the more you have left over. And that's this idea of we all do better. If we work together to advance everybody, we can all end up further ahead. We don't have to have this competitive advantage at your expense. And that feeling of plenty is what we need. And it's that feeling of scarcity that has torn apart our communities. That idea that I have to have my neighbor's farm because there's not enough income from my farm to go to do me, and there's not enough income from his farm to feed him, so I might as well have both of them and he can go find something else. That doesn't work. And we have this opportunity right now to do that. And we've had more farmers that became a part of our group who decided to become organic farmers because of that, because we didn't notice as we were losing that community what was happening. But they sure saw it. When they saw that community there, they wanted it. They wanted to be a piece of it.
And they know also that when they grow their crops, they'll bring them to a local buyer. The buyer will treat them fairly. They will know them. They'll know them by name. They'll say, "Hi, Ron, it's so good to see you," when he walks in the door. And the fact that Ron had cancer, the next thing is, how are you feeling today? Now, it matters. suddenly there is a community, there is a person, there's a face. And that's something that a lot of farms have lost. We organic people can do that if we work together as farms and then work with others outside of our immediate community to build the infrastructure.
And this cooperation is the key to preventing the control of our sales being taken away from us.
Yeah.
You know, if we work together, we're less likely to, well, you've probably all heard the story of, well, I'll take a nickel less to get the market, and that way my neighbor won't sell his. You know, this is what happened in cabbage. There's only one cabbage buyer left in most of the United States. And they've always been able to go to this one farmer and say, well, I'll give you the neighbor's contracts if you'll sell to me $5 a ton cheaper. You know, and there's this willingness to stab someone in the back for that personal advantage. And I know it sounds negative, but I'm sure you've seen it. And it might take a little bit of a jump to get away from that, but it works so much better, and there's so much more advantage in stopping that type of behavior and changing the way we interact with each other. And I think that fits right in with organic.
Little parable to end with. We were at a meeting, an Acres USA meeting several years ago out in Minneapolis. And a guy told the story about this old Russian peasant named Ivan. And God came to Ivan one day and said, I'll give you whatever you want, as long as whatever you ask for, I'll give twice as much to your neighbor. Ivan thought about it overnight. Oh, geez, what possibly can I ask for that will be worth this? And finally, when God came back the next day, Ivan said, tell you what, put out one of my eyes. We can't be that way in organics. We need our neighbors. And we need to be able to help our neighbors succeed. And our neighbors can be even up here for us.
I've been on the receiving end of that. One of our first years in organic, I was roasting soybeans, and I reached under the tank that fed the roaster. And I don't know why, but I stepped backwards, and that tank came down with 25 tons of soybeans in it. And within a half hour, one of our neighbors was there with a shovel helping clean it up. It was one of our organic farming neighbors.
And as much as anything, he was there to stand beside Klaas and keep him from shaking out of the fear of what might have been.
But it used to be when your house burned, people would build you a new one. You know, when your barn burned, there would be people there to build a new one. And there's no reason it can't still be that way, as long as we make it that way.